Hello and welcome to the West Yorkshire Football Show. It's our post-match instant review of Leeds United 3, Coventry City 0 with myself, Stephen Brown, and joining me as ever, Mr. Jason Booker. Well, there we go. As the thumbnail says, Leeds United fans, are you not entertained? A terrific game from the Whites, the best of the season for me. Thoroughly enjoyed that. Fantastic performance. I mean, Jason, it was just what we called for, wasn't it? And I don't know how anyone can be dissatisfied with that, really.
Yeah, mate, I'm extremely smug today, not just because of the Farker backing and the backing of the football, but the other results today just showed exactly what I was saying. Yeah, I'm glad Gavin's here. We were chatting pre-stream about you, Gavin, saying we wonder if you'd show your face today after some of the stuff that you said. Joking aside, good to have you. But no, we were excellent today. We were absolutely excellent. We set about it right. We still could have scored another 5. I mean, first half, it was ridiculous, wasn't it? We just had chances galore. But we were excellent, mate. And, even then at 2-0, we came out in the second half. They showed a little bit of a glimmer of something. We stamped right on them and said, nah, you're not about this. We're going to go and kill this game off. We got the second. And then I thought we played really educated. After going 2-0 up, we sat back. We looked to hit them on the counter, which is what we've seen us do that a number of times, especially at home when we're comfortably in front, which saved the legs a little bit. And I thought we made subs at the right time. Pirro comes on again and does what Pirro does. Like, you cannot argue with his output. And then you go and identify some top performance. I mean, the system looked great today. The football was really nice. You could see the intricacies and the putting the play together that obviously they're working on. But that aside, I know we'll get to individual performances later, but I've got to make an early mention for Jayden Bogle. I thought was absolutely sensational. Not just his goal, but stretching the play, driving the ball out. His link-up play down that side was fantastic. And then obviously he gets his goal. But man of the match for me was Brendan Aaronson. I thought the lad was absolutely exceptional. First half especially, intricacies, really working hard in little tight pockets of spaces, flicking the ball around the corner, linking up play brilliantly. But his work rate was just unreal. And even at 3-0 up, he got cramp, had 10 seconds down, got himself back up, and then we're instantly back in defending. It was just brilliant. Right across the pitch, he sets the tone for the press, because we do actually have a press this season, and he sets everything going. I'm so pleased for him, because I think he just got such a hard bargain with everything, and he's come back and he's just got on with business. And I definitely think he's stronger. Obviously, he's a diminutive, smaller player. He still gets pushed off the ball a little bit too easy sometimes. But what he does do brilliantly now is just get back up and get on with it. Whereas in the Premier League for us, he cried about it and he moaned about it. He's just like, no, I'm going to show that I'm just about it. I'm getting about it. So I just thought it was excellent. But from start to finish, the boys were brilliant. And it even got topped off with a world-class save by Ilan, which kind of topped off a brilliant performance, because he had nothing to do before that. So it kind of at least got him involved, and he tipped one over the bar that were destined for the top corner. So yeah, delighted, mate. Absolutely delighted.
Yeah, absolutely. Ryan, thanks for your comment, mate. Bogle stepped up again today. Tanaka's passing is disgusting. Overall, good team performance. Even Meslier making that save at the end. Yeah, absolutely. And I completely 100% agree with you about Brendan Aaronson. I think what he's got a little bit more cute with as well is, when you are a smaller player like that, you're a slight small player, you got to use that to your advantage. You can twist, you can turn away. You've got that low center of gravity. I feel like he's starting, he's doing that more now. And, maybe a couple of times he still kind of gets pushed off the ball, but the way he can move away and dart away from players, to have a player like that at this level, this is a guy playing in the Champions League last year and has come from good pedigree. It's exciting. And I'll say something. A lot of people might disagree with this. I actually think it's an improvement for the team if he continues in this vein than Georgie Rutter, actually, in the team. I really feel that, because I feel his vision, his unselfishness, the way he activates that press, individually, Rutter may be a more talented player, and obviously was my favourite player last year was Rutter. But I would argue we just click more with the Brendan Aaronson. I thought that today when we were that some of the passing moves and some of the build-up play, which is what we've seen this season already. I'm not, it's not like the first time we've done this.
The goals don't equal that.
Yeah,
that's what people get wrong sometimes.
Yes. But I think it's of a higher level than last year. I think it's better than last year. I think the general football is better than last year. I really do.
Your point on Brendan is spot on, and I mean I think I made a point of it at the end of the window that he's more suited to the 10 role than Georgie is. He's more of a 10 than Rutter ever was. He was kind of shoehorned in there, whereas at least Brendan's a little bit more of a natural 10, and he's miles better in them intricate, tight little spots. Yeah. Rutter is extremely good when stretching his legs and running at players at speed. He wasn't brilliant in really tight areas of the pitch, and that's why we struggled in that 10 role against a low block, because we didn't have the Pablo Hernandez to kind of play them intricacies and play the passes through the lines. Brendan should have had 3 assists today.
Yeah,
I mean the couple of balls that he put in behind the back line in the first half were unbelievable. And I mean it were unfortunate. If it had just been a little bit less weight on the pass through to Ramazani that then fell to Joseph and then Gruev had the shot, it'd have been a beautiful assist because it was so well disguised and in behind the back line. Yeah, mate, I couldn't agree more with you. And I think that, the style of play conversation will look more balanced on both fullbacks now because we've got a proper right back. So that side of the game is better. I would argue, Ramazani, from what we've seen of him so far, is less individual, more of a team player than Somerville. So it builds in the play in and around that area of the pitch better. Nonto, we're getting more of an output now on a more regular basis. Brendan's more suited there. I'd agree with you completely. And again, people are going to be like, oh, now it's 1 win in 15 for Robbins and Coventry are crap. Well, no, they're not. It's pretty much the same team that they had last season, bar one, I think. Who left? Callaway, yeah. But they're predominantly still the same team. They've not started great to this season. But again, the whole division is Coventry's, Sheffield Wednesday's, Hull's, Cardiff's. They're all exactly the same, bar us, Burnley, I would probably say, and maybe Sheffield United starting 11. That's it. The rest of the division is all that. So all you have to do is keep on playing like that and play it. Because we absolutely scored them today. It could have easily been 6. Easily. Yeah. So, just more of the same.
Yeah.
Keep on kind of building that momentum. The clean sheet's massive. So, yeah.
Absolutely. I feel like it's, me personally, I was looking for some kind of evolution in the team. And I've got to admit, when I watched us opening day against Portsmouth, and I've said this loads of times, but when you saw Georgie still doing the thing of picking it up deep and making those runs, I was a little bit disappointed that first game of the season. I thought, is it just going to be the same again?
Yeah.
But I do feel like there's been an evolution there. And losing Somerville, losing Rutter, you don't want these things to happen, but at the same time, I do feel like, and I think it's spot on what you say about Ramazani. I mean, his defensive work, by the way, Ramazani, coming back, nicking the ball, working hard. And, watching the game, we seem less selfish in those areas. I would argue, actually, Nonto frustrated me a few times hanging on to the ball too long.
Yeah,
and I was getting a bit wound. I was like, it's almost like he's still in that mode of last year where he's playing with Somerville and Rutter. And actually, it's like, no, this is the new school now. We're a bit less selfish. Sometimes you're hanging on to the ball too long. Like, get it out your feet, release it. That's what we're about now.
He was my one negative to the second half.
Yeah,
I know I'm being hypercritical.
But I get that.
He held onto the ball a little bit too long. He was a little bit sloppy in possession on a couple of occasions. Could have just released it. I hear that completely. But I still think we're getting a better output from him now. And I think in and amongst his kind of movement with Brendan, it really clicks nicely.
And the goal, the finish as well. I mean, we were begging for that. Because again, I mean, we were so dominant at the start and, we're creating these chances, but it is hard to kind of always kind of stay to that level of intensity when you don't get your rewards. And I can imagine it being a little bit demoralizing. So it was fantastic actually to see us get a quite early goal and just settle all that. And and someone actually putting the ball in the back of the net. Back of the net. I mean, it was a, that is Nonto, isn't it? That is what he is capable of doing. And, if we can get more of that, like you say, I think his role in this team is obviously huge. He's probably the one we all expected to leave 12 months ago. He stayed, and now it's almost like, right, you're the main man, you got a new deal, you're all over the social media, this is kind of your baby to go with. And he stepped up and took that chance. So yeah, I mean, just a fantastic start to the game, and really the way we set up.
I think without Pirro on the pitch right now, I think Nonto's our best finisher.
Yeah,
and we've yet to see enough of Solomon to know, and Ramazani will probably come with time. We saw a great finish from him last week, but it's too soon to say. Nonto's the player where if the ball is going to drop to somebody in and around the box, you want it to drop to him, because he has kind of got that killer instinct at times as well. But yeah, agree completely, mate. We right from minute one we set about him in the right way, and we didn't give them a sniff really, and we did pick the pace up. The ball was popping around much quicker, which is really nice to see. And they also didn't really set up in a low block, which I expected them to. There was a bit of a version of it, but it wasn't just like a backs to the wall, sitting with two camps of, a 4 and a 5 or a 5 and a 4, whatever. It wasn't really that. So they did allow us the space to kind of play within, which was, again, good. But we made the most of that. And that there was all sorts to love about it. I mean, the football was fantastic in the first half. Second half, I found myself kind of switch up. The thing is, for us, when we're 2-0 up defensively, we've always seen under Daniel Farke, we are very, very good, very good. We don't even concede chances, let alone goals. So I weren't really once we went 2-0 up, the game was done. The game was done, even though we didn't have the ball much for 20-25 minutes. Well, it was done because they never looked like breaking us down.
No, absolutely. I agree totally with that. Let's get to some of your comments then. Skip, very good all-round performance. Thought Ramazani was quality today. Tanaka looks so much more aggressive for us. Struijk and Rodon solid at the back. Gale, another win for the mighty Leeds. Angler's Gale says, no Pirro, no party. I mean, we're kind of scatting all over the place. I mean, we mentioned one of our big talking points from our show on Thursday was about Pirro and whether actually would this be, would he be kind of sneaking into the squad? And we need to have a little bit of a chat about Joseph as well. But I mean, just in terms of Pirro's impact, obviously, he's come off the bench again and he's popped one in the net. I actually thought some of his play was a little bit off at time. A couple of points where he was like sloppy passes and things, but pops up and gets a goal again and just made it super comfortable at that point, doing what he does. I mean, not actually an amazing finish in a way, but that man knows how to find the back of the net.
I think at the time Joseph was still on the pitch, but it's not him that's in that spot. Yeah. It's Pirro. That's because he's just a killer. He's just in and around. He runs onto it at the right time, and you're right. It's not a great finish, but he puts it back in the direction which it came from, and the keepers fall in that way. So. Yeah, he's just a fantastic finisher. And I mean, he's going to be absolutely banging on the door. He is. And rightly so. A striker can only come on and score goals and affect the games in the way that he has. And the last 2 games that he's done that in before today, he's actually killed the game off. So they've been fairly important goals. Yeah. But, today, you're right. He weren't great in build-up. But I'll be honest with you, I didn't think Joseph was either. I sent you a text in the first half and I was just... frustrates me, hold the ball up. There were a couple of moments, and again, I know I'm being hypercritical, but you get 1 or 2 moments as a striker to hold the ball up and link the play, and sometimes he just wants too many touches. But some of it's just down to his inexperience, his age, he's growing into the role, he built into the game. Towards the end of the first half, he drove the ball forward and hit that strike. I think he'd be a bit disappointed with how he's ended up striking it. He's ended up leaning back and he's made it savable for the keeper. And I thought it was all right. Second half, I thought he battled well, but he didn't have too much to play off. But again, if his name's not Patrick Bamford, it won't be spoken about because Bamford puts that display out today and he gets annihilated. So not that we should be doing that. I just think we should just critique it in the same way. So I think it's a funny battle between the two, mate. Funny battle between the two.
I mean, as Michael says here, Pirro pushing for a start, 3 goals, whereas Joseph 1 goal in 7. I'll be honest with you, when watching Joseph today, especially kind of the first half of the first half, for me, it just didn't look right. It, like you say, it needed extra touches. And he was the one who was kind of letting some of the forward play down, the being, a bit of build up and the ball would go to him. And like you say, too many touches or losing the ball. And for me, it almost looks like there's been a bit of a confidence drop there or something. Maybe he's overthinking it or this kind of pressure is building because he's not banging in the goals. I mean, the run that he does was brilliant to set it up, but I've got to admit, I had no faith that he would actually do anything kind of at the end of it. That's kind of where I'm at with Joseph at the minute. I mean, I thought it was a really poor attempt to that much space. And I just thought that seems to be where he's at the moment, certainly with his finishing and chances and everything like that. I thought, I think he did grow into the game. Like you say, I think he's battling well. And it's such a strange thing with Leeds because you've got these three strikers. You've got one who arguably can do the hold-up play and everything, but can't put the ball in the back of the net and is injury-prone, Bamford. You've got Pirro, who can put the ball in the back of the net, but doesn't seem to be able to do anything else. Yeah. And then you've got Joseph, who's this kind of can do a bit of this and a bit of that, but is durable. And I guess at the minute, he's winning the battle based on the fact that he does probably 75% of the job fairly well, and that's kind of
ceiling
to make the system, and the ceiling,
with Joseph, because that there's the talent there, and he's 20-year-old. That's where you're really at with Matteo, and there is some things that he does that I really do like as well. So I know that we're critiquing him, and a lot of it is inexperience, and it's definitely shouldn't be seen as a negative that we're discussing this either.
No,
I just think it's it's areas in which we have to look to kind of improve. And again, if we did have an absolute killer that did what Pirro does and does what Joseph does do well and Bamford does do well, we'd have probably won every game this season so far. To be totally honest with you, that's the level of which we've actually played really overall. So because again, Pirro has the chance that Joseph has against Burnley. We score, we probably win that game. But that's football, and that's Championship too.
And it could click, couldn't it? It could click. It could. I mean, it could all of a sudden just kind of happen. Couldn't it? Floodgates are open. He gets his confidence up, and he starts banging in goals, and that's kind of the one thing that's missing. But first part of the game, I thought he looked just a little bit off it. Johnny, thanks for your comment, mate. Good professional performance. We need to keep racking up the points, and fingers crossed we're at top at Christmas. Yeah, I've been absolutely loving that. On
goals, Brownie. Goals are coming from all over the place.
Yeah.
Which is brilliant. We still need more from midfield. I'd like to have seen Brendan get a couple more and have scored two. I'd like to see, now Gruev, Tanaka, Ampadu get one or two as well. We need to start seeing them from set pieces. But the fullbacks are getting in and around the box constantly that they're going to score loads. I bet Jayden probably ends up with 5, 6 or 7 this season. Third Pro will probably get a few himself, 4, 5, 6, 7 as well. Thought he was decent as well again today. So, we said where are the goals going to come from? That Somerville and Somerville predominantly gave us last season, and James maybe. And they're coming from everywhere. They're coming from them all. Most weeks we're seeing 2 goal scorers, 2 goals, 3 goal scorers today, 3 goals. So, and that's huge. That is massive.
Yeah, great point. Great point. One thing I want to say about, I don't know about you, but Firpo and Strike, and obviously they were touch and go and had a couple of issues. They looked to me like they weren't 100%.
Pascal, especially.
Pascal, there were a couple of times where Pascal it didn't look comfortable at all, and a couple of points where he lost the ball, etc. So fair play for them to kind of get through and perform to levels of need. But you could almost see that looked a little bit not as fluid in the movement.
I thought Daniel Farke made a great point with that. It's very different being a centre-back and playing with an injury than it is a Ramazani, a winger, an attacking player and play with an injury, because you need to feel fully comfortable in your body when you're making them jinking fast movements. Whereas as a centre-back, you kind of can watch everything coming. You can kind of get through it a little bit, because I don't think Rodon was 100% either. He was holding his groin for most of the second half.
He was,
and you're absolutely right. The battlers, the fighters. And we've seen that with Pascal before, because Pascal does have an injury history. He does. He usually spends 10 games out per season with an injury. Obviously, we lost him for the whole back end, the whole last 5-6 months, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So we need him. Especially with the Verber injury, and now with Ampadu's out as well, which we'll get to. It's going to leave us less options at centre back. So
we need him to hold up there. Just a quick one here, Michael Browney. Don't forget Joffrey as lead striker, who may have a part to play. It's a weird one with Joffrey. I mean, there were a bit where it kind of panned to him on the bench, and I mean, he really is just like so far. I mean, I can't see him getting any minutes. I can't see him getting any minutes, Jason. I really can't, unless something really goes wrong injury-wise. I just can't see it.
We need 4 or 5 injuries.
Yeah. Michael Farker's best ever start as a manager in all but his first season at Norwich. His teams have reached 90-plus mark. Absolutely. Gail, and we will talk about this a little bit more later.
We will, Brownie. We will. Oh, Gavin, where are you? We will talk about this.
West Brom and Sunderland losing today. And I talked to Jason about this before, but we mentioned before this kind of run of difficult games, Coventry today, Norwich, Sunderland, in just, you're talking 6 days apart or something that we face these teams. Difficult run, but we haven't got a Leicester, we haven't got an Ipswich who are already 7, 10, 12 points ahead of us. That the foot is not on our throat in that way. We can afford to drop points out of the next 2 games. Let's be relaxed about it. It's fine if we drop points. If we only draw, or even if we win and lose, that's, for me, that is fine. That is absolutely fine. And the reason why is nobody's going to run away with it. It's a different league this year, and hopefully that'll play in our favour, and hopefully our quality will see us through. Like Johnny mentioned, let's pray that we're top by Christmas and everything's looking really rosy. So yeah, great day for Leeds. Great day for Leeds. You've got to say.
Most of the time, playing in the fashion that Farke wants to play, with the quality of players that we've got, as I said on Thursday, we will win most games because we are so much better than every other team that we're going to play. Now, we're not going to play that game that we played against Burnley every week. And most times, even when we do play a game like that against a Burnley or Sheffield United that sets up in a certain way to try and stifle us, we'll still win anyway because we're so much better than them too. We were better than Burnley. It's just on that particular day, given the fact that a game is 90 minutes and football plays out in weird ways sometimes, we're going to drop points. Like, we can't win every week. I know Arsenal ended up winning 4-2 today, but they were beating Leicester 2-0 and ended up being 2-2 until the 94th minute. Like, it happens at all levels of football. And today we've seen it with the results. I said to you midweek, West Brom will not continue in this fashion. And Josh Madger still scored again today. And they still ended up losing 3-2 to a terrible Sheffield Wednesday team. Everybody's telling me that Sheffield Wednesday, it should be disregarded as a good win because Leeds went there and won comfortably 2-0. By the way, the last team to beat Sheffield Wednesday at Sheffield Wednesday was Leeds United last season. So they're still undefeated at home apart from against us. And West Brom go there today and lose. Burnley, they got Oxford and get a 0-0 draw. Portsmouth take points off Sheffield United today. Sunderland go to Watford and lose. Like, where are you? Like, what are you saying today? Because this is what the division's all about. There's going to be loads of these results all season. And especially the teams like Sunderland and West Brom, they're going to drop points continuously as this season goes on. Whereas Leeds, most of the time, won't. We might lose 1. We could go on Tuesday. We're gassed up right now. We're excited. We've won 3-0. Yeah. We could go to Norwich on Tuesday and lose, but it wouldn't be the end of the world because more than likely we would then win 3 of the next 4 and maybe draw 1. Because not every season, I know we're scarred by last season, but not every season is like last year.
Absolutely. Gavin, Pascal needed Tuesday now as Ethan looks out for weeks. Do we know what is the extent with Ampadu? I mean, we don't know. I mean, he got back on his feet. It looked like they tried him.
It didn't look good, did it? It didn't look good, and it looked to me like it might have been ligament damage on the outside of the knee, which could definitely be a few weeks. I made the point.
Needed to do that tackle. Do you think he needs to do that kind of? I mean, I think he did one last week, didn't it? Was it last week or against Burnley? Wasn't it where he went?
Burnley.
Hannibal and
the thing is, Brownie, you take that away from Ethan, and you're taking away a big chunk of his game, and it did end up winning us possession high up, and we could have scored from that very opportunity. So I don't want to start taking that away from him. Things like that are going to happen. It didn't. I mean, Gavin saying their ACL issue didn't look like an ACL for me. I mean, I've done both of mine, so I know what that's like. It could have been, but it looked more on the outside of the knee. And look, if it is, that means we're probably going to lose him for the season because ACLs are a 9 to 12 months. And that would be an absolutely massive miss. But I am going to stick my head out above it and say to everybody what I said before we came live. I actually think out of the whole of the starting 11, him and Gruev are the most replicable and replaceable players in the starting lineup. I would argue that both centre-backs are a bigger priority. I would argue both full-backs are a bigger priority. I'd argue Aaronson and Joseph, in terms of profiles, we don't have like-for-like replacements in the squad. And then you could even look at Ramazani and Nonto and say, well, would you prefer to lose them for 9 months? I don't know if you would. And I'm not saying that I don't rate Ampadu. I love Ampadu as a player. You could argue he was player of the season last season, and he's our captain. He's a fantastic player. But in terms of replaceable profiles, we've all seen what Tanaka can do today, and Gruev pretty much is a left-footed, slightly more defensive version of Ampadu. So I'm not. Injuries happen throughout the season. Last year we got pretty lucky. We only lost Pascal and Pat for a bit, but Pascal was really the only major injury. You're gonna lose players throughout the season. So I'm not going to get hung up on it. Gail saying hamstring, Gavin saying ACL. We just need to wait and see what kind of comes out. But I'm not going to be like, oh, see, I saw somebody on social media say it was season defining. Come on, get a grip. It's not.
Can you imagine if Farker thought the same thing, right? That's it, throwing the towel. We're quick to give up, aren't we? We're very quick to give up sometimes. And also, like you mentioned, Tanaka, as Gavin says here, Tanaka's pass. I mean, it got a longer game today, came on first half. We got to see a little bit more of what he's about. I mean, I was listening to it, and Tony DeRigo was saying, that his physicality impressed just as much as obviously technical ability, and he looked up for the tackles and clever tackles as well, pinching the ball and using his body well. I mean, he's an exciting prospect for this team. I mean, the pass, Jason, that leads on to the goal. I mean, it's superb, isn't it? I mean, it's just one of those that we'll be watching all week, won't we, really?
Yeah, no, beautiful pass, beautiful spot, perfectly weighted. And he's just whole-round game. His ball retention is brilliant, but with intent. It's not just... Gruev's pass percentages are good, but it's always sideways and, well, not always. Today he did a couple. He played one onto Jaden in the first half, I think it was. It was very good. But yeah, it always feels like he's looking with intent. He's scanning. When the ball's coming towards him or before he receives the pass, he's brilliant. He's always aware of what's around him. Really, really like him. And he's more than, ample replacement. I'd argue that he's probably got more to his range of game going forward than Ampadu. I think defensively, you'd probably say that Ampadu was better. I know Gail's put there that Ampadu is our best player. I'm not saying that he's not. I'm really not. I'm just saying in terms of replaceable profiles within the squad, he is more replaceable than a number of players. I know I'm going backwards a little bit here and stepping away from Tanaka for a second, but if Firpo's out for the season, you've got Byram. If Jaden Bogle's injured for the season, you've got Byram or Schmidt, maybe, when we don't know enough about Schmidt yet. If Joseph's out for the season, you've got Pirro, who we know can't do that role. If Brendan Aronson's out for the season, who do you play at 10? We haven't got one. You play Pirro. That's my point. Pascal's out for the season, you play Ampadu, who we know isn't as good as a centre-back. Same for Rodon. Yeah, that's my point. All of them are more vital cogs because of what comes after them, not them in the 11. That's the point I'm trying to make. I understand he can play other positions. I understand he can play centre-back as well. He's vital. He's absolutely vital. It would be a massive miss. He's his captain, of course. It's going to be... But I'm just making the point that losing him wouldn't be as damaging because of what comes in. Because it'd be Gruev and Tanaka. And that is more than capable. That's absolutely my point.
No, I agree with that, and I think you could even probably argue maybe last year it was slightly different because we didn't have that going in. It was someone like Tanaka who's waiting in the wings to come in and do the same job, and it's going to be interesting. I mean, these, like you say, you bang on, injuries happen, and every team's going to have to deal with it. And yet last year we did very, very well with injuries. Like you say, strike out for a long time. I mean, for God's sake, Rutter had surgery and we still played. He still played.
You know,
and these things are going to happen, and you know the way Ampadu plays the game, there's always going to be this risk. I mean, there's been a couple of times this season, and like I mentioned before, where he's gone steaming into these tackles, and I totally get what you're saying about you can't take that aggression out of a player because do you lose the player? But I don't know. I just think
it was an ever-present.
It feels like it's kind of been waiting to happen as this because he's been close to getting to this point where he's. I mean, to get injured from a tackle you've made is, it's a shame, really. You know, it's a shame. It's kind of felt that it may be on the cards, but
he was an ever-present last season. He was ever present last season, playing exactly the same way. And he played half of the season as centre back. I suppose you could say that, but you know, I think of Alan Smith when obviously we don't really like Alan Smith here, but when Alan Smith broke his leg and he came back, he was never the same player, and you always wonder whether he's just kind of lost that snap. You know what I mean? And that could be the reason why. I mean, on Ampadu, Farkas said knee. Definitely too painful to go on because he normally tries everything to stay on the pitch. He was more positive after the game and does not think it's too bad. Have to wait for further assessment. So the initial kind of feeling.
So we're not saying ACL.
I'd be very shocked if it were ACL with the way that it went in. It looked impact or hyperextend of the outside of the knee. ACLs are usually a lot more innocuous than that. I mean, go and have a look at Rodgers as an example the other day. You know, it don't usually look like that. I'm not saying it's not. I'm no physio, but just I've done it twice, so I know what it looks and feels like.
In terms of the fans' reaction to this now, Jason, obviously, I think both you and I were scratching our heads last week going, we've won the game, and the fan reaction just seemed to be discontent, unhappiness. And I really want to know from everybody who's watching along, if you're watching on X or YouTube, how do you feel about that performance? How are you feeling about things now? Because, you know, I feel like the way the league is shaping up, the way we're performing now, we seem to be getting into our stride a little bit. You know, where are people's heads at? Because, I mean, you know, that today, Jason, you can't ask for more, can you really? I mean, a couple more goals maybe, but 3-0, I'm happy with a 3-0 all day long.
We'll play like that every week, we'll win the league. Like, it's keeping the consistency of them performances. And we will play better teams than Coventry. They weren't good today. But I still think they're a fairly steady, solid championship side. Like I've made the point, we'll play them several times this season, teams just like that. You know, they still had some danger men. Ellis Sims didn't get a sniff. Hadji Wright came on. Jaden Bogle absolutely boxed him off. Not only were Bogle good going forward, he was really good defensively as well today. You know, there's nothing that you can be disgruntled over in today's performance. It was an absolutely perfect 10 out of 10. I'd say, I'd honestly say we're a 10 out of 10. The only gripe you can have is they should have scored more in the first half. But again, the championship players, and we're going to miss chances. So we'll still see an unbelievable XG. I bet his XG were 4 or 5 probably today. Well, maybe it weren't because they usually don't see it over 3. I don't know. But yeah, mate, there's not really much more you can say on the performance because, like I say, it was so good. I mean, fans that are now going to be criticising today's, it's simply agenda. It is nothing else. And look, we might not play great on Tuesday and we might drop points and then they'll be back out again. This is the problem that I think we've got this season, is that Daniel Farker, he almost can't win. We'd have to win the next 5 or 6 in a row for him to be able to lose one. And I just think that's unrealistic and unfair. You know, so yeah.
I agree. No, I agree with that. I think this is kind of where we're at with it. And hopefully we do see a little turn in the narrative, because I definitely feel, and look, I hold my hands up, I'm guilty of it as well. After we lost that playoff final, I was pissed off. I was pissed off at the way we lost that game. I was pissed off and thinking, is Farker the right guy to do this? You know, are we going to see this again? You know, big question marks over him tactically, substitutions, the whole thing. And obviously we got off to a bit of an auspicious start against Portsmouth, and all of a sudden the kind of the tidal wave is getting bigger and bigger, isn't it? You know, that feeling of anti-Farker. And we're living now, you know, modern football where it's like, you know, a few bad results and fans are like, right, get rid. We're just as bad as the journalists now. We're like, right, get them out. You know, we want the shiny new toy who's going to come in and save it all. And, you know,
you've got to look at this man's record and the fact, look at what's in front of our eyes. For me, I feel it has changed. I do feel it has changed.
I actually think it says a lot about him as a manager and as a manager that he's able to drown all that noise out and deal with it and still deliver performances like that. Because managing Leeds United is a really difficult task anyway. I mean, we've had one successful manager, really, with the exception of Simon Grayson, in Marcelo Bielsa, for 25 years. And Marcelo Bielsa is considered as one of the greatest coaches ever. That's who we needed to come and get us out of the Championship. So that's the juggernaut that Daniel Farke's having to deal with. And not only that, he's having to deal with the Bielsa widows, in us as fans that have got such high expectations anyway, and we can't even lose a game without us having a meltdown. So, he's having to really deal with it. He should. He's paid good money and he's in charge of a massive football club, and he probably would struggle to get a bigger job. I think this will be the biggest job he ever has.
Absolutely.
But he still deserves credit for that. He still deserves credit for that, for then what he's able to, there were a lot of noise on the back of the Cardiff performance, and he's taken his team out against Coventry today and absolutely played them off the pitch and played good football doing it and dominated the game at Ellen Road. So you've got to give him credit where it's due. You've got to give him, I was going to bring Luton up and Gail's just done it for me. Luton last season, obviously in the Premier League, they recruited to win the Championship. That was their recruitment policy. They recruited to win the Championship. They've come back down and they have started awfully. They've lost Ross Barkley and the rest of the team's exactly the same, right? And they've got 5 points from their opening, however many games we're on now, 6 or 7, whatever it is, right? These are the levels of where these teams are at. Sheffield United have not particularly looked great. Burnley have not looked particularly great either. Are we in front of all of them? Or are we level on points with Burnley?
Sheffield United are...
No. I think we're level on points with Burnley.
Burnley, isn't it? Burnley are just above us, but we're on level points with them.
Yeah.
And then Blackburn still undefeated. Sheffield United undefeated.
I would wager a bet with anybody, Browney, that we finish ahead of Blackburn, West Brom and Sunderland. I would wager whatever you wanted. So forget, they'll probably be in and around the playoffs, or 1 or 2 of them might be. But the pecking order will see right over 46 games. And that, again, you'd be a silly person to bet against Daniel Farke hitting over 90 points again this season. And if he does, we'll go up. It's as simple as that. 90 plus points will be good enough for top 2 this season. 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. Michael, last season, last 8 matches, Leeds were top, but international break killed Leeds with Gruev, Nonto, James and Roberts coming back injured. Missing match at Watford, no real options in midfield. I mean, that was the frustrating thing of last year, was we hauled ourselves back into this position. But then, you look at what happened with the Welsh lads in the international break, and it's typical of Leeds. You get these extra external factors that contribute to issues. And meanwhile, Ipswich probably barely had any international players and could just kind of, see it through. But hopefully this season will be different. Hopefully we won't face that. I mean, it's always going to be a worry, a nervous thing now is the international breaks. It is going to be a concern, and hopefully we've got a little bit more in the squad now that we can deal with it. And it's going to be interesting, isn't it, Jason, to see how he uses his squad. I mean, if Ampadu is out and the centre of defence is, looking a bit kind of wobbly in terms of numbers. I mean, who else is DeBayo, isn't there? I think who's kind of would probably be next. If Verber's out.
Yeah, I think. Look, I mean, if we harken back to last season for a couple of minutes, I think we have to, we have to lay some of the blame at Daniel Farke's door. There were some things that he definitely could have done better. There were certain things that the players could have done better as well. There were some poor performances at times where we really needed them. I definitely think of Chris Somerville in the back end of that. He didn't go away on international duty and completely went missing. Rutter was playing with an injury. There was others as well. You can definitely lay the blame at a few different things. You can then look at the external factors like the international break and Joe Rodon, Ampadu, Dan James all coming back after them. There were brutal games, and then Dan James missed a penalty, and his head were all over. Like, that contributes to it too. Then you also look at officiating. I made the point the other day, and I know Downsy completely disregarded it out of hand. But I said, you know, the dropping points at home to Sunderland when we were denied the clearest handball penalty you will ever see. We win that game, and it changes everything that then comes after that, because you're just that bit closer, and the pressure is just that little bit less. Yeah, because we're going to the next game not as desperate to win, so anything can change on the back of that. You know, and all of them things together combined in us, you know, working out the way that it did. Not only that, but facing a Southampton team in the final, which obviously had a little bit of Daniel Farke's number, but also they probably were a bit better than us. They were probably more balanced than us overall. Bear in mind, they've been in the Premier League for 10 plus years and were more established and ready to go straight back up than probably we were. So, you know, all them things put together combined in us not going up. And hopefully we can have a little bit less of them. We're still going to have to deal with some of them though, Brownie. Because, you know, the facts is that not everything's just going to be rosy all season.
No.
So, and some of that will fall on Daniel Farke to manage properly. Some of it will fall on the players to take responsibility for it. And some of it, I hate to say it, but it's going to be a little bit of luck. Like, you do need a little bit of luck too. You know, when Leicester were falling off a cliff the way that they did, they just managed to get back on it at the right time. And Ipswich, I mean, we all said it all season how fortunate and whatnot they got throughout the season. And they did. They rode the luck massively. But that's the way that football goes sometimes.
Absolutely. Bringing it back to today's game then and looking at the performance of Brendan Aaronson, and who obviously it's this redemption arc. We love a redemption arc in football, don't we? And where do you think he's at in terms of with the Leeds fans and how Leeds fans are feeling about him? Because for me, he got way too much hate for what actually happened. I really do. I think he was kind of unlucky that, you know, we had a few Americans at the club that it went a little bit sour with. Tyler Adams, the way that whole thing ended. Jesse Marsh, obviously, he seemed to be a little bit tarnished with that brush, and obviously the USMT crazy kind of online thing as well didn't help, and it annoyed a lot of Leeds fans. And I think there were a lot of Leeds fans hoping they'd never see Aaronson at this club again, which boggles my mind. But I mean, could we see that full redemption arc? Do you think is this potential player of the season that crucial to Leeds? I mean, performances like today would suggest so. You know, I love it because I think he's a nice lad. I think he deserves it. He clearly works really hard. He doesn't bite back as well. He doesn't feed the negativity. He's got that kind of positive vibe to him as well. I mean, could we see kind of the big redemption arc, meet its conclusion really and get back in favour of Leeds fans?
I think so. I think he was also tarnished with the brush of Verber coming back too. And I do understand the Leeds fans' perspectives on Verber and the way that he left and all the rest of it. I still don't agree with booing him in pre-season and all the rest of it, but I do understand it more. I think Brendan, a bit's been made about the fact that he made his decision pretty much on the day that we stayed up that he was signing for Leeds. That was done. The season after, he'd made the decision that he was leaving, done. This season, he made the decision nice and early that he was coming back, done. Like, he gets his kind of season ahead in order really early in the window. I think he started excellently. Like, come back into focus. He had to earn his position back in the side, in which he did. He came off the bench, and at the end of the day, he saved us losing on the opening day, regardless of what then happened then afterwards. I mean, the full redemption arc could have been in place if it had then gone on and scored that goal. But he was still, excellent. He then earned his start, and he's never really looked back. And like I say, not only that, as he kind of just got his head down and got on with it, but I believe he's very switched on to his perception. And he is, in my eyes, when I'm watching him, he is very clearly making a big effort to get straight back on his feet, get straight back after the ball, do what he knows Leeds fans like to see. And ultimately, his quality is telling. I said it in pre-season. This is an American international. He's a top-level footballer. He's not a second-division footballer, whether it be Bundesliga, Premier League. I think he's still a Premier League player. I do. I think there's a Premier League player in him there. He wasn't ready for the amount of games that Jesse Marsh put him through.
Yeah.
but you're being ready for a big part in the Premier League, in my opinion. And we are seeing that now. He makes fun of some of these Championship defenders that he's playing against. I mean, there were a moment where the fullback Van Uwijk, he just turned him inside out on the left hand side, ran the ball down the byline and had a cut back in. I just think he's an excellent player at this level. I think he stands head and shoulders above most of what you're going to see, and this is why I weren't as kind of clamoring for this number 10 that everybody wanted, because the number 10s that were available were not better than him. So I think come the end of the season, mate, I think everybody will be fully Brendan Aaronson believer. I do. American boy, I'm all about
American boy, yeah.
Yeah, I'm all about it.
Yeah, bring it back. We've mentioned it's a tough week ahead for Leeds. It's Norwich away on Tuesday and it's Sunderland on the Friday. Games in quick succession. How do you think it's going to pan out, Jason? I mean, we talked a little bit on Thursday about what we would like as kind of a points return from this, but after today's game, how are you feeling going into those next couple of fixtures?
I'd snap your hands off at 4 points. I would absolutely snap your hands off at 4 points, wherever they come from. I think both games are extremely difficult. Both games are potentials for losses.
Yeah.
You know, if you were looking at the beginning of the season and you were saying that we're going to win the league, but we're going to have 7 losses throughout the year, you'd probably pick one of these two as where they're maybe going to come from, and that was before a ball were even kicked. Yeah, because Norwich and Sunderland, they're just same kind of clubs. They're always going to be flirting in around the playoffs. They might even overachieve and, have a battle for the top 2. So, yeah, I think we'd do extremely well to come out of it with 4 points. I'd be absolutely delighted with that. If we can win back-to-back games on the back of this great performance, I mean, we're right. We are then front and centre, which is what we said we wanted. We're not quite there yet. There's still a kind of way to go. So, yeah. And like I say, if we go to Norwich on Tuesday and win, and then we lose to Sunderland, that's football. Like, you're not going to win every week. I'd be okay with that. I know a lot of fans wouldn't. They'd be saying, "Oh, we have to win every game." Like, it's just not realistic over a 46-game season. So, but yeah, why not? Why not? Why can't we go and beat both? We're better than both of them. So,
Gavin, no reason why we can't win both if we take our several chances. Gavin, are you sure you don't want Corberan in still for Farker? Are you sure, mate? Are you sure? Just teasing. Yeah, and Gail says here, me too, 4 points will do me fine. God, isn't it good when everything's kind of going well in the world of Leeds United?
Oh, it only takes one loss, mate. Let's just enjoy it while it's here.
It is nice. It is nice for a change. But yeah, everything's pretty going well. I feel like I've not really said my piece on Bogle, actually. We need to, give him his flowers, to quote this term that they keep saying. But yeah, Jayden Bogle, obviously he's had a mixed start to life at Leeds United, you would say. Defensively, some question marks and that kind of thing. But yeah, I thought he was absolutely superb today. And when you see the outball that he is on that right hand side and the overlapping runs and what that does and how that helps and how we didn't have that at all last season, it makes a huge difference. And confidence is a strange thing in football, isn't it, as well? And I can imagine a player like him, Jayden, once that confidence goes, he gets settled and it can just go from strength to strength, really. And obviously you've got Schmidt just waiting in the wings. We saw him come on today. So there's that challenge there lurking as well, isn't there? Someone who's ready to jump in your spot if you're not at it.
100%. I think, like joining any club, not many players just hit the ground running and look amazing from week one. It doesn't often work like that. And, it's a step for him. Like, playing for Sheffield United. Sheffield United are a big club, but they're not a patch on playing for Leeds United. Like, it's just the truth. And, he will have felt a bit of that pressure. It's taken him a bit of time to acclimatise. Defensively, he will always probably not be perfect, but you can't always have both, not at Championship level, because if he did, he'd be a Premier League player. Again, for £5 million, if he was the fully formed right back, that a perfect right back, he'd be in the Premier League, wouldn't he, for £5 million. So, we've got to tackle the rough with the smooth. And what it gives us going forward, for me, is a serious outlet. I'd say it probably looks a little bit better than Firpo going forward. I think he's got.
So, yeah.
I think he's got more in his bag going forward. He's a little bit more tricky. I think he's a bit quicker. And obviously today we've seen a finish as well. Keeper should probably do a little bit better, but it's irrelevant. It's on target. It's gone in. So yeah, I'm delighted for him because I were a bit worried. After the first couple of games or what. But I think he's also showing that he's capable enough defensively to make up for what he gives us going the other way. So
yeah, indeed. Well, myself and Jason, we will be back probably on Monday night show. We'll be doing a Tuesday night review as well of the game against Norwich as well. So do stay tuned for that. If you've not liked the video, please do make sure you smash a like on it if that's on X or YouTube. Subscribe to the channel on YouTube as well and give the page a like and a follow as well. We've got quite a few reactions going up on all our games across the region today as well. I think we might be the only happy followers in West Yorkshire.
Yeah, they've had a bit of the tables been turned today because we got absolutely roasted the other week after the Burnley game.
Yeah.
Everybody else had won that day. Me and Downsy had like an explosive fallout in the WhatsApp world. And yeah, it's a little bit sweet because
they've lost to Reading. Oh,
yeah, he won't believe this when I say this, but I don't care less about Huddersfield, if I'm honest. I would never look for the result or anything like that. But this situation, this bit of banter back and forward between me and Downs, it's got me kind of chuckling over this last week. I can't lie, because they've had back-to-back losses. He's going to be in full meltdown. So, yeah, it's a good weekend, mate. It's a really good weekend.
Makes it even sweet, doesn't it? Makes it even
sweet. Does. It does.
Good stuff. Well, thank you, everybody who's watched along and got your comments in as well. Really appreciate it. And we will see you again shortly. I've been Stephen Brown. Alongside me is Jason Booker. Jason, thank you very much, mate.
Thank you, mate.
Enjoy our Saturday nights, eh?
Absolutely.